It's a gorgeous day in Wallsend, about 24 degrees, a little bit of cloud, but the sun is shining brightly. So I wanted to talk today, that's the ice cream van again, maybe I should go running after it and enjoy that teddy bear's picnic. So I wanted to talk today about God and good and evil. In a non-dual sense, God is both good and evil, because all the things that are happening in the world are God's doing. It seems like man is committing good and evil through his acts, through either good intentions or ignorance. But it is actually not the case. God is doing all. There is only God's will. It appears that there is human will, that there is free will. But in non-duality, there is only one consciousness, one actor, one God. The apparent world, the relative world, is not separate from that God. So God acts through his creation, through human beings. Now, human beings, alright son, human beings are individuated expressions of God consciousness. God's consciousness has fractioned itself into countless individual beings, namely human beings, animals. A lot of activity today. Human beings, animals, plants, all sentient beings have God consciousness, from the largest phenomena to the smallest, tiniest particle of the universe. All has consciousness in apparent individual form. Yet God, in an absolute sense, is absolute good, because what is happening in God consciousness is ultimate truth, and truth can only be good. So why does it appear that so many bad things are happening in this world? And why does it appear that man is doing these things? These are not easy questions to answer, but I've been contemplating this and I want to give my take on it. God is the ultimate puppeteer, pulling on our puppet strings. So we are mere puppets of God. God is doing all. There is only the will of God and apparent free will here on the phenomenal plane. But God is the doer of all actions, of all thoughts, of all feelings. They all come from God. But our consciousness as human beings is a fraction, a tiny fraction of that whole consciousness. It's as if God has fractioned himself or itself into infinite forms in order to amuse itself or entertain itself. Like God has created a grand puzzle in which all the pieces are split the entire puzzle has been split into infinite pieces in order for God to put them back together again. And we are these individual pieces. All our actions are part of a greater puzzle. In Hinduism, this is called Leela, or the cosmic drama or play. Some call it Maya or illusion, the grand play of existence. Imagine a infinitely large puzzle with infinite scenes of good and evil. You can imagine the most benevolent scenes of angels, angelic beings, gods, paradises, and on the other spectrum, you can observe scenes of horror, of wickedness, turpitude, evil, sickness, demonic activity, demons, archons, malevolent beings, and the like. This is the opposite side. In Taoism, they have a term for good and evil. It's dark Tao and light Tao. Dark being the evil and light being the good. It's like the yin and yang symbol is separated into the dark half and the good half, but as a whole it contains both. God contains both good and evil. But why would God create evil? Well, this is a very difficult question to answer. It's called in Christianity the problem of evil. And I don't think anybody's ever worked out why it is so. But we philosophers like to discuss these things on a conceptual level, knowing that our concepts can't fully grasp what is ultimately unfathomable. It's not an easy word to pronounce, that. I should have said ungraspable. Mysterious. God is the ultimate mystery of existence. In the dualistic, relative world of plurality, multiplicity, relationality, and connectivity between individuated beings, it appears there is good and evil. But good and evil don't exist in God. God is simply doing what God does, creating this magnificent play of light and dark. There is light matter in the universe and dark matter in the universe. And there is an interplay of opposites between light and dark particles. This is what gives the universe balance. And good and evil, this polarity of opposites, keeps everything in balance. The cosmos is precisely harmonizing itself in every instant. So why is God doing this? Well, there is no why. There is only the how, the mechanics of it, what we can observe. The why is a human question. It doesn't exist in the realm of ultimate reality. In ultimate reality, there is no suffering because there's no one there to suffer. There are no individuated beings with karma acting out of ignorance. It sounds contradictory because if God's doing everything, how can there be people acting out of ignorance? But it only seems paradoxical on the relative plane to our dualistic minds. It's because we think that we are the actors. We believe that we have free will. It is as if we are acting, that we have agency. But it's all being done in the same way that God orchestrates the entire universe, birthing the galaxies, shining the stars, moving the oceans, coordinating the seasons, blooming the flowers, breathing your breath, beating your heart, circulating your blood, regenerating your cells. All of these things are being done by God, by the universe, the Tao being the mover of all things, the universe being forever in flux. All things simply happen without your involvement. And yet, at the same time, here on the phenomenal plane of three-dimensional existence, it seems, or it appears to be, that we are the actors. From lifetime to lifetime, from one incarnation to another, we accrue or accumulate karma. We do this through our ignorance of God, of our true natures, of our Buddha nature. We have tendencies or patterns of behaviour that continue to repeat themselves on autopilot. And yet, we didn't program this. God did, because God is the ultimate programmer. He programmed the entire existence. After all, He created it. He created you. He birthed you into existence. But you're operating on a program, like a computer, software program. So you might say, Indro, if God is doing everything, then it must mean that man is not responsible for his actions. This is in fact exactly how it is. We only have responsibility for our actions when we think of ourselves as the actor. Because we act out of ignorance of our true nature, we gain karma. And this karma obscures further our true nature. As if we were covered in a cloud of darkness. This cloud, you could call it the cloud of unknowing. I think this is a Christian mystical term, the cloud of unknowing. I like it because this cloud, which has descended upon us, hides our light. We hold our lamp under a bushel, but the lamp is always there. We always have that shining light within us. We just have to remove the veil of ignorance. So, in ultimate reality, there is no karma. Just like there is no suffering. If there's no karma, there can be no suffering. Because we suffer as a result of our ignorance. Karma means action. So we create misery for ourselves through misidentification. This is sometimes called the ego. We think of ourselves as separate beings relating to one another. This is dualistic thinking. It is only apparently so, but it is not the whole truth. Thank God that it is not the whole truth. Otherwise, we would be condemned to suffer for all eternity. This is not the case. If you were able to see through your ego altogether and completely right now, there would be no more suffering. That would be enlightenment. You would enlighten to the truth of your eternal nature, your ultimate being. So how is it we can stop identifying ourselves with a false self, with the ego? We simply stop giving it attention. Whenever a thought arises, we don't pay attention to it. If you ignore the mind long enough, it will go away. Believe me. Like a pesky bully. You ignore the bully, eventually he gives up. Oh, that's a beauty, that one. So, the ego is simply a thought that tells you you are this name, you are this description, you are your job, you are your social identity. But that's all a mask. That's not who you really are. I've said this before many times. So to see through the ego, simply stop paying attention to it. Stop giving it energy. It's just created by thoughts. If you're able to silence the mind, you will be in touch with God, because God is always present here and now. It's simply our thinking and our misidentification that obscures this reality, this truth. Now, God, ultimate consciousness, has two aspects. It has a ultimate and a relative truth. The ultimate truth is that God is unconditional love, bliss, luminosity, unadulterated happiness and joy. Now, if that's not good, I don't know what is. It also has the immanent quality of the world that you see and perceive around you. The world of manifestation. Plants, trees, birds, nature. All of matter is manifestation or immanence. That's relative truth. I'm standing still because I'm beside my favourite tree. But the non-dual truth is, thank you, that there is no separation or difference between the transcendent and the immanent. They are both one. Emptiness is form, and form is emptiness. The formless truth of unconditional love, bliss, is present in all manifest phenomena. All things have the qualities of God consciousness. Radiance, light, power. That power animates the entire existence. It animates you. It's what's looking through your eyes, speaking through your mouth right now. So you see then how God is doing everything and that we are doing nothing. It's a great freedom to know that we are not responsible, if you see what I mean. Or rather, one other way of looking at it is responsibility, or the ability to respond effectively, is determined by the level at which you can attune to God's frequency. If you can attune to the vibrational quality of God consciousness, then that is ultimate responsibility, because now your ego is out of the way. You are one with God. You are identified as the self with a capital S. God is you and you are God. Not in a I am God like my ego is God. That's absurd, right? And this is a misinterpretation of non-duality. No, it's just that there is one consciousness and you are that. Good and evil are relative concepts. They're human concepts. We give them their descriptions. But in God's mind, all of this is just happening without any attachment or identification or labelling. Yes, on the relative plane, good and evil do in fact exist. It's just that ultimately they don't. Or it could be said that good and evil exist, except they don't exist in the way we think they do, or the way that they appear to exist. Bunch of kids and families having picnics in the sun, on the grass. It's great. Enjoying life. Children are at play all the time. They are not concerned with good and evil, even with God. They don't even think about it. That's what it's like. God is at infinite play, just doing what God's doing. Some people don't like the word God, and that's fine. You know, God is a word with so many meanings, and some associate God with a genocidal monster or maniac, which is ignoring all the evils of man. But it is not the case at all. But if you don't like that word God, there are plenty alternatives you can use. The Tao, Shiva, Krishna, the Self, consciousness, awareness, ultimate reality, truth, goodness, beauty, whatever word you want to give to it, it doesn't matter, because we're talking about a being which has no names, which is beyond gender, beyond description, beyond even the beyond. But nonetheless, it is present, always present, here and now, in this moment. So good and evil are necessary for existence to occur. Otherwise, the universe would exist in a state of inertia, in stasis. The universe could not exist at all without the interplay of opposites. Good and evil define one another, give meaning to one another, create one another. There is light and there is shadow. There is the light side of the force and the dark side of the force. It's not that one is more powerful than the other, they're equal. You remember that film, I think it was called Revenge of the Sith, when Emperor Palpatine, the Emperor of the Galaxy and the evil empire, was fighting a lightsaber duel with Jedi Master Yoda, and it ended in a draw. This is how the interplay of good and evil works out. There's no winners or losers in the fight between good and evil. It's only when both are transcended that you get to what Nietzsche called beyond good and evil. And the good news is, beyond good and evil, ultimate truth is benevolent. So one who is self-realised or enlightened ultimately acts for the good, because the universe must go on existing. You must go on. The show must go on. It doesn't end. It continues through all eternity. This is the beauty of life. Life never ends. It just transforms. Who or what you are will change. You won't always exist in this body or mind. You'll get another set of circumstances, another body, another brain, another set of experiences to learn from. In the manifest realm, God is learning through the continual evolution of matter. The manifest world evolves. It was born, some say, at the advent of the Big Bang, the universe was born. And so the manifest world is always evolving, it's always changing. The only thing that wasn't born is the void, emptiness, from which all things sprang. But the manifest universe, planets, stars, galaxies, human beings, nature, continue to change and evolve and create novelty. God would get bored if there was no novelty. So he created this infinite drama for his own amusement. Otherwise, he would just sit there bored for all eternity. At one point, he had to create a universe. Every movie or every play requires its hero and villain, or heroes and villains, or Jekylls and Hydes. Otherwise, there would be no point in making the movie. If everything was all sweetness and light, there would be nothing to watch. It would be boring. And this world is far from boring. New things are always happening. There's the good guys and the bad guys, relatively speaking. When you watch a movie, you want excitement, you want drama, you want a fitting conclusion. Well, there's no conclusion really, because the drama of life goes on. Well, at least the story will go on as long as you're alive, and then when you're born into another body, you will create a new story. But it's just a story. It's not the ultimate truth. One could say, from a perspective, I like to use this analogy, that the true story of one's life is the story of the universe itself. So when you disidentify from the ego and its story, then you live the life of God, whose story is infinite. It starts at the beginning of time and it ends at the end of time. Because all things that are born must die. As selves, as people, as individual beings, we're here to learn lessons. We're here to work through our karma. We're here to ultimately transcend being human and return to our true original selves, the Godhead. That's why this drama is unfolding, why all this is taking place. Because we're here to learn lessons. It's easy for us to judge, that somebody that you know or love or don't know should have to endure a certain set of circumstances and suffering, and you say, well, this is terrible, this shouldn't be happening. But you don't know the workings of karma. You don't know, for example, when this person life comes to an end, what will happen to them. Maybe they will be elevated to an incomparably more blissful existence than you, and therefore their suffering is relatively short, whereas you have to go on enduring it in your own way. So we're all here to learn certain lessons. As limited humans, our judgment is limited. We cannot know the designs of the whole. Only God can know that. So we should be hesitant to judge the suffering of others. We don't know what karma they must endure, what they've done in previous lives, in order to get reborn into this plane and endure whatever hardships that they need to learn the lessons of this life. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have compassion for suffering. When one is